Thank you. Shh. I guess I could have done that from the start. Hello. All right. A father once told me, "There's nothing so cruel as a magic trick." And I thought he was joking, poking fun at my honest belief that there is something beautiful about the confusion that an illusion leaves in its wake. But he said, take for instance my little girl, who practiced magic for 8 years, conjuring smiles out of misery. She spent 8 years rehearsing how to vanish until one day she did. Take for instance the mother whose kid was a wizard at transmuting despair into joy. The 6-year-old boy who had a respiratory illness so it would produce laughter out of thin air. I've heard stories about the magicians who reside in palliative care, about the children who stare at birthday candles, then close their eyes and wish for hope. And I can't imagine, or maybe I just don't want to, but I've heard tell about the alchemy it takes to turn love into glue. I've heard parents of dying children whisper, you do what you have to keep yourself together. You tether yourself to uncertainty, but learn to broaden your scope. You force yourself to cope with even the idea of loss. For some, it's an early birthday party, just in case. For others, it's a chase, trying to track down even the tiniest moments, hoping to build memories upon the foundations of their every effort, bleeding into each new endeavor. No grand illusions of a happily ever after, just something simple like Christmas dinner in July. I can't imagine, but I understand the need for repetition. I understand that when people begin to let go, they slow and repeat, believing that their denial can somehow make it not true. They go through the motions until the motions themselves begin to spin into rhythm, and the cadence of acceptance sounds closer still, and they will themselves to hear it. They close their eyes and take turns listening to the sound of their own hearts, listening to the sound of their own hearts, listening to the sound of their own hearts skip. Helpless as love begins to slip through their fingers like the tick-tock of a melting Salvador Dali clock, I understand, but can't imagine. Can't imagine how the child must feel. How does youth deal with a love that cannot let go? How does a kid let a parent know they just need some time alone? How do you say that without breaking their heart? How do you keep it together when all you do is watch them keep falling apart? How do you start dying, all the while trying to make sure it's the living who will be okay? How do you say it's all right when it so clearly isn't? I can't imagine, but I understand. I have seen those who reprimand their emotions and move forward, to walk toward whatever awaits and work with whatever is at hand. I understand the need for both mirrors and smoke. Magic at times still needs a curtain, and the Latin word palliare means to cloak. And this is where the term palliative care stems from. The doctors who come into this work are themselves illusionists. Gentle smiles while clenched fists grip at the frustration of being able to do nothing. They embrace the impossible philosophy that their job is neither to prolong nor to postpone. And I can't imagine how alone it must feel to be apprenticed to a disappearing act, to allow yourself to love only in abstract, to subtract yourself from the equation and calculate only needs, to stand and bear witness in the moment life finally concedes surrender. I can't imagine. Or maybe I just don't want to. I can fathom only the surface of what any of this must be like to go through. And my heart breaks for people I've never met. And a broken heart cannot, like a broken bone, be set to mend. I have known both family and friends who send up desperate prayers through sealed lips and held breaths, trying to bandage the hemorrhaging wound of loss. I imagine it is times like these when angels face the temptation to toss their halos into the trash, to cash in their wings and just walk away. And I'll tell you that for an atheist to believe in angels is a difficult thing. I have seen both mothers and fathers canceling their subscriptions to faith simply to make room for the never-ending volumes of acceptance. The very nature of understanding hints at the fact that grief comes in installments, almost like paying rent. And that at every undetermined interval, payment must be sent to a landlord they will never meet. They must greet misery at the doorstep like an in-law who shows up unannounced with bags in hand and no pressing reason to leave. I've watched mothers and fathers weave themselves into a tapestry called family, only to watch it unravel through the trials of grief, finally realizing that the truth behind magic is that most of it's make-believe. Our reaction to it is the only thing that's real. How we felt and how we feel. How we deal with not knowing what comes next. And yes, it's unfair that it's the death of others that puts our lives into context. I can't imagine. And I don't want to. I don't want to be the one who stumbles through the times of others trying to summarize the lives of the loves they still love. And this is not to say that I'm above trying. It's just that when life moves us in and out of life through what feels as cruel as a magic trick or as sudden as sleight of hand, we need to do better than imagine. We have to understand